I'm here at the Go Big Little Rhody Step It Up event today.
Step It Up held its second National Day of Climate Action this weekend. More than 1,400 events were held in all 50 states to call for a reduction in U.S. carbon emissions by 80% by the year 2050, the creation of millions of new green jobs, and a moratorium on coal-fueled power plants. Our Go Big Little Rhody event, held at Roger Williams Park Zoo, was postponed by Hurricane Noel's high winds and rain until Sunday, November 4th. It brought over 100 visitors and 10 local and state officials to hear our representatives, Congressman Jim Langevin and Providence Mayor David Ciccilini, talk about legislative initiatives.
We've had some significant progress this year, and it truly is our goal both to freeze the amount of greenhouse gases in 2009, but ultimately reduce greenhouse gases by 80% of 1990 levels by 2050. Efforts like this are just so vitally important because this is where we are and how we create a groundswell of support for changing course on these environmental issues that first of all, the greenhouse gases which are damaging our environment, and it's a way of educating the next generation and sensitizing all people, especially young people, about why and how this fight is so important to take up, because it's really about them, about trying to leave this world a better place than the way we found it. We have a moral obligation to do that. And we have been failing, unfortunately, because of the leadership in Washington leading us in the wrong direction.
I'm seeing City Councilman Cliff Wood this year. The reality is that the only place that this work is taking place is really at the local level in cities all across the country. And Providence is very proud to have been one of the original signers of more than 600 cities that have signed on to begin to respond to this issue of climate change in a really proactive way. The U.S. Conference of Mayors also put together a 10-point plan and the sort of our priorities for the next couple of years. And the number one of the points of the 10-point plan was the creation of an energy block grant program modeled after the community development block grant program to really allow cities to make investments in responding to climate change and renewable energies and other important initiatives. And to their credit, the Congress has passed that. We have, first of all, passed a comprehensive plan that has, for the very first time, an entire section devoted to sustainability, and it's really a central tenet of the plan, which is really, really important as a roadmap for the future of our city. We're working very aggressively toward our 20% reduction. 20% renewable energy by 2010 in the city of Providence by ordinance. We're about to embark on a very serious intensifying our efforts to recycle in the city. We have increased dramatically our tree planting. We've planted over 1,500 street trees over the last 3 years. We now have 25,000 street trees. We did an entire street tree inventory. They capture 39,000 tons of carbon every year, and so this is a really important initiative to continue to build on. We've purchased hybrid vehicles at the Water Supply Board. We've purchased new police cars that have much better fuel efficiencies, and we have lots more work to do, but these are some examples of what we're doing as a city.
All right, so now
Lou Perrotti, the head of the zoo, gave a passionate plea for attention to the potentially disastrous effects that climate change posed to nature, animals, and the environment.
And we all know what's going on in the Arctic and what's facing the polar bears, and the biggest and the mightiest of the bears, and our most fragile of habitats. We're already seeing it in the Arctic. We see it in our coral reefs with bleaching, and we're seeing it in rainforests, more drought and loss. And even closer to home, we're seeing, of course, earlier springs. We're seeing much warmer summers, less rain. We're seeing more intense weather effects, yesterday being an example. All things that greatly threaten our environments here in Rhode Island. As we look into later on in the century, if we don't change the way we do things now, we face sea level rise that's going to threaten very valuable estuaries that are vital to our waterfowl and some of our commercially important fish. the list just goes on and on. We're already seeing with much more CO2 in the air and hotter summers, it's just making trees prematurely produce much more pollen. You're seeing more asthma effects, more allergies. It goes on and on. I mean, it's real, folks, and it's here, and it is the largest conservation challenge I think we've ever faced.
10% of the crowd were made up of members of the Rhode Island Progressive Democrats of America who were calling for more action sooner.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, the whole process seems to be accelerated. So if you want the state of the earth in terms of climactic and political happenings, I think we're in a kind of dire strait. I think there are different scenarios, and the first scenario we consider very carefully is the whole range of dire scenarios that can happen to the planet, from biological plagues to nuclear weapons getting out of hand to natural catastrophes and so forth. So here's an area where we have some control over human destiny. It's not like an asteroid slamming into the Earth.
I'm still considered a new guy, so everything's too slow for me. I'd want to be much more aggressive on everything, cafe standards, anything, any of the greenhouse gas stuff, any of the regional initiatives. I think it's all too slow. I think we're going to be looking back soon and saying, where were these advocates? They're going to blame us for not being more aggressive than we were when it's more of a crisis than it is. Cafe standards is the stuff that legislates the stuff you see on the window of a car if you're buying a new car. Those really push the efficiency of automobiles, and you can really push that efficiency by legislating for higher gas mileage.
There were also many educational exhibits on the effects of pollution, wind and solar renewable energy, and sustainable living.
That's inside one of the towers on the tower truck. It gives you an idea of the size of the thing. There's another tower section going on. And these are those cooling ducts being put on the side of the nacelle with the radiators.
You're going to have to get
and
out
then,
my DVD.
the nacelle opens up like a giant clam. It opens like a clam hydraulically. And those are those ducts on the side. And then this is looking inside the nacelle. That's the power converters and all the stuff. These are all the this is where the gearbox actually bolts onto the nacelle, and those are all the rubber mountings for that. And this is what the gearbox looks like.
Activists in area environmental groups that helped to plan the event were on hand to talk about their initiatives.
Hi, I'm Annie with Clean Water Action, and Clean Water Action is the Rhode Island chapter of the national organization Clean Water Action, which is doing grassroots environmental work all across the country. And then the other thing that we're working on is curbing diesel pollution in Rhode Island, which is a really big problem. And so we're working on retrofitting old diesel vehicles, cleaning them up. These particular retrofits that we put on diesel vehicles will reduce the fine particulate matter, which is the really harmful stuff that gets into our lungs. It'll reduce that by 90%. So we've already done it to school buses. All the school buses in the state are getting retrofitted, and now we're working on trash trucks and other heavy-duty diesel vehicles.
We work to green the grid here in New England by purchasing renewable energy on the behalf of our Green Start members. I'm here today mostly trying to sign people up for Green Start, which is a way for you to purchase green energy through your electric bill.
Concerned citizens were quick to add their opinions.
Well, I think it needs to be taken seriously because it's a serious issue that affects everybody, and politicians should react to that right now.
For me, in terms of being a voter, that's the biggest issue for me in terms of the upcoming election.
Being at the zoo, special attention was offered to our younger generation, particularly one exhibit promoting harmony with nature and peace as a lifestyle.
The Step It Up events are happening all over the country. There have been some great bills so far, California, New Jersey. They're working on one in Massachusetts. Yeah, I mean, it's got to happen everywhere.
This was an important step on bringing together people on the important issue of global climate change.
A better day, a better day.